coming to you from a YouTube near you.
They're guys. They do magic. They are the Magic Guys.
Cheers, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Magic Guys, episode 55. And since we're cracking on into the new year, we're starting in a way like we have done, which is inviting guests, friends of ours, people to inspire you, ask questions of, and today is going to be no different. Although, however, you might realize that I am here by myself, and that is because my buddy Jason is still asleep, I'm assuming at least. So Jason, if you're using this as your alarm clock, feel free to jump on anytime. But in the meantime, I'm here with another magic guy. Now, this guy I got to meet at Magic Live, one of the biggest conventions in the world for magic. It's the place where we all come together, we nerd out, and we learn from each other and other magicians. And I was really pleased to meet this gentleman. He is an author, keynote speaker, full-time wizard. He has a special out, a full magic special. And look, I have so many questions for him. We were chatting beforehand and we're like, let's try and save some of this stuff for the podcast, and but we didn't. But we're going to dive into all the interesting parts, I think. So ladies and gentlemen, please give me a hand in welcoming to the show, Taylor Hughes.
Oh,
there he is. Yo,
we're doing it, buddy.
Yes.
I'm so glad I got to be here, because otherwise you would just be the magic guy today.
I was ready to edit this and just take out the S, but fortunately you're here and I'm pleased. But also we will have comments showing up on the side, so I'm never alone really when we're doing the podcast. So
That's
in the meantime, it's wild, I know. So anyone who has questions, jump in the chat and throw them in there while we're talking. But Taylor, let me just first start off. How you doing, man?
Doing good, man. I was so excited when you asked me to do this. I was thinking back, I think we realized it was 3 years ago at Magic Live. And sitting in a very cool workshop and, waiting. There's that moment when you're just waiting for the thing to happen. And so you start chatting it up with people around you. And this guy started talking to me who had this rad accent. And anyone who has like a cool accent, I just automatically am like, wow, you've got something incredible to tell me. And we just kind of stayed online buddies, man. I can't wait till we can see each other in person again.
I know. How long's it going to take? And speaking of online friends, our buddy Brennan Dooley is in the chat right now. His comments
my goodness.
popped up. I made
Brennan,
it. Hello.
If you haven't seen Brennan Dooley's episode, was last week or 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, it was 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Episode 53. That's it. We're
I just like
going
to promote
reminisce
other
about
episodes than the one that we're doing right now.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah. I wish I had the recall memory of being able to reference specific episodes when someone brings up a topic or something, but it's not that good. But 2 episodes ago, I can remember. Yeah.
That'd be like the world's worst mentalism act. If you just called time code of podcasts, you're just like, someone's thinking of like 24 minutes and 32 seconds, episode 5.
Hey, that's not a bad idea. You know, because these days people do time code their podcasts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so is there room for an app where someone thinks of a word and then you can reference the time code of when it was said? You know?
I think that would be more entertaining than 90% of mentalists I've seen.
Maybe it's well, thank you. Maybe it's the new age book test. It's like a line. It's like a sentence. Wow.
Yeah, that's really good.
This is good. Jason's in the chat. What's up, Jason? One of our fellow Patreon members. And glad to have you here, my friend. Glad to have you here.
If people want to join the Patreon, how do they do that?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. Let me explain. So we have a patreon.com/themagicguys, and there are a few different tiers, but the main one for magicians is that you get to jump on board and do fortnightly jam Zoom sessions with us, which are recorded so you can watch them again later.
Oh, that's
awesome. Yeah. All the stuff that you want to share with people, but you can't quite do it in like a public forum. So
that's so cool. See, look, you brought me on as a guest, and I'm just going to join the Patreon.
We'll send you the check. Don't worry.
Buddies.
Yeah. What are you drinking there today? Here's some ice.
I know that's like the number one rule in recording is don't have ice, but I love ice. Are you an ice person or no?
Love ice, yeah. Over here, it's pretty hot right now, so ice is, that you're just showing off now. It must be nice to have ice.
I'm gonna put the ice away. This is iced tea, which you kind of have to have ice for, and then this is my absolute favorite. I'm obsessed with Topo Chico.
Oh, what is this?
Topo Chico is a mineral water from Mexico, and it's absolutely amazing.
All right, give us a little pitch. I'll full screen you.
Oh yeah. Today's episode of the Magic Guys podcast is brought to you by Topo Chico. If they want to sponsor it.
Please.
I like the sound effects.
Yeah, thanks. I try. Hey, I mean, you're no stranger to the podcast world. When we first met, you were doing this podcast that a lot of magicians listen to called About to Break. And from my understanding, it was about people who are about to break into the industry or trying to break into the industry. That sort of premise, right?
The whole premise was, I found myself at a time in my career when I was really discouraged. I think we all get there, those points where you're just hitting the wall. You're not doing the stuff you want to do as much as you are doing the stuff that just pays the bills. And then I would find myself on like a random Tuesday night in a comedy club in LA, or at, in the back of a comic book store performing with a bunch of magicians and comedians. And it was those green room conversations of people not just telling like the great stories of stuff that happened, but kind of like the terrible stories that made me like not only feel better about my own experiences, but also feel like I wasn't alone. And so, the whole premise of About to Break was trying to have conversations about people just trying to break into the industry, pay their bills in the process, and trying to kind of get a breakthrough before the industry breaks them. So when COVID hit and everything broke, I said, maybe we'll take a little pause on this. But we're going to relaunch it soon.
Yeah. About to break. That was the limit. It was about to break until the pandemic.
Until it broke.
Until it broke. Is it still up there, the episodes?
Yeah, you can still find them. Cool. In fact, right now, if you look at Chasing Wonder on Spotify, iTunes, all of that stuff, you can find Chasing Wonder is the name of my special that's on Amazon and available a bunch of other stuff. If you don't have Amazon or access to it, you can get it on. You can like buy it on YouTube and a bunch of other places. Apple TV.
Yeah. I'm going to watch it tonight. I found it on, that's such an LA thing to say. I'm sorry. I'm going to watch it tonight. No, I found it on Google Play. I found it.
Oh, really? Here. Oh, cool.
Yeah. Google Play, you could get it.
That's cool.
Yeah, because I was watching the trailer and that's how I found it. So,
cool.
But YouTube, that's a cool
podcast,
place.
You can search Chasing Wonder and you can find all the old podcast episodes on there too. Yeah. But nice. Over like 140 episodes, bunch of them magicians. And just really fun conversations. Did one at that Magic Live where we met. We did a whole episode where I got Johnny Thompson and the Amazing Jonathan and a bunch of people just to tell their worst like horror stories of stuff that went wrong on stage.
The episode I remember from that, I think, was Piff, the Magic Dragon.
Yeah,
that episode was hilarious. He was like doing improv work on people walking by at the same time, if I remember.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Piff is funny.
Funny guy.
It's a funny guy, man.
Jason Yoakum is good question. Who is Taylor? What's he about? I just jumped the gun a tiny bit for those who maybe have just started streaming before the intro. Do you want to just take a minute, tell them about you and what you're about, and then they'll know what questions to ask us.
For sure. Hey, Jason, nice to meet you, man. I'm Taylor. I'm based just outside of Los Angeles, California, born and raised here in SoCal. Been a magician my whole life. I grew up 3 blocks away from Harry Blackstone's warehouse in Azusa, California. Became a member of the Magic Castle junior group when I was 17. Grew up with guys like Joel Ward and Danny Cole and Matt Marcy, a bunch of really cool LA magicians. And I am a professional performer, speaker. I just put out a book called Road to Wonder. It's a collection of life stories kind of reviewed through the eyes of wonder. So it's not specifically a magic book, but there's a lot of magic stories and magic related things in there. And I'm just obsessed with helping people chase wonder. So not just doing magic tricks, but talking about, doing keynotes on the topic of what does it look like to embrace wonder in your life. And and I'm good buddies with Josh. We met at Magic Live. We've stayed friends online, and we keep talking about getting together. But this, the weirdest thing happened, and we're not been able to travel as much lately. But soon we'll be back at it.
Yeah. And I was asking Taylor before the podcast, because for me, this time of year is like the hectic season that magicians look forward to and just capitalize on with, the joyous occasion of everyone having events on.
Right.
But Taylor, I imagine you've had your share of years of doing that, right? And so
Oh yeah.
now you were saying, moving into more of the keynote speaking realm, which, the writing a book really ties into that super well as well. Now you're in a position where you're transitioning away from doing that model. And now with keynote speaking, it's more of a during the year endeavor. So how does it feel to be able to relax during this season? Like, do you feel like, so many of my friends' stories are at gigs and stuff. What, do you miss it, or what do you feel?
It's weird, man. I mean, I love gigging, and I love these kind of seasons. I feel like the Christmas season, holiday season is when you get really good stories. It's usually like the worst setup. You know what I mean? Like every place is like the dance floor mode of death, and you know, and you got an audience on either side, and so I still find myself in environments like that throughout the year, but I am shifting a little bit my business model to I made this special in 2020. We put out a comedy magic special, which I'm very, very proud of. And if you haven't seen it, go check it out. If you don't have access in whatever country you're in to, somewhere where it's at, just send me a message and I'll make sure I get it to you somehow. But I put out the special in 2020. I put out a book this year, 2021. And so I'm just trying to focus more on creating content that I love and I think people will find value in. And then, spending more of my stage performances on keynotes and on these shows that I'm writing. So working on a new hour right now that we're going to film next year. And I'm stoked about that. So
based on around magic or around motivational keynote land?
It's kind of somewhere in the middle. I'm obsessed with storytelling. And so some of it is like comedic storytelling. But this new show, I mean, every show I write, I want it to be more than just entertainment. Not in a cheesy way, but I do love a show where you write something that people connect with to the point where they go like, they laughed, they were amazed, but then maybe they go, maybe I should call my dad, So this new show, my last one was all about wonder and my obsession with chasing wonder. And the new show is all about the opposite. It's all about misdirection. And it's all about how, as a magician, I've spent my entire life studying deception as a means of entertainment, but all the time misdirection is used, from marketing to, certain organizations, and it gets into our politics. And if we're not careful, misdirection can really set us up for failure. So it's going to be a fun story, a fun show, but it's also going to have some moments of like, oh man, like, little more hard hitting stuff. So.
Is the goal of the show to start a riot at the end?
No, man. My goal is, I really want to get into doing more theatrical performances. So just trying to do more writing shows that I can tour, and then those become specials, and awesome. Just like performance piece things. So
put out a special. So put out a special tour, fit your keynotes in, write some books on the road. Man, it sounds like a nice life.
Yeah, man. So
I think I even saw a photo today. You were doing some plumbing work under the house. Man, you're a man of many talents. This guy.
I don't know, man. I don't know if it's talents. I don't know what I'm doing. I just use YouTube like obsessively.
It's so helpful.
I think when people go like, "Oh, I don't know how to do that," it's like, well, yeah, you used to be able to say that when the way you would navigate was with a map, like a road map. You could say like, oh, I'm not great at like getting places. But now it's like, we've got these supercomputers that just tell us what to do.
Exactly.
So if someone says I can't cook, that just means you can't follow directions.
Instead of Road to Wonder, you could call it Google to Wonder.
Google to Wonder.
Everything's up there. Everything's up there. And so when you're talking about stories, while it's fresh on my mind, this weird moment happened in one of my gigs last week, but it wasn't in the gig. It was like getting to it. And it was at an Italian restaurant by the water over here. Very nice place. and I'm suited up. I've got my mini, kind of like a casino style poker chip case, just a small one.
Yep.
So I walk up to the venue, and this guy that's very well dressed, this older gentleman, comes up to me and he's like, "Oh, it's great to see you." And at first I'm thinking maybe that's the client. And although I'm pretty sure we haven't met, maybe he's, that's just his way of greeting me. So like, "Oh, no, thanks. Great to see you too. How are you?" And I do, we exchange some small talk.
Yep.
And then he says, "I haven't seen you in years. What have you been up to?" And now I'm now I'm confused. Now I'm like, hang on a second.
So the question is, did you play along? Did you act like, "Oh yeah, man, it's been a while," or did you?
100%, 100%. Because I still don't know I still don't know who he is, right? So I'm like, yeah, it's been some time, and I'm like, "Are you well?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm well." And he's like, what are you up to these days?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm a professional magician. I'm performing for all events around Brisbane this Christmas." He's like, "A magician? Oh my God." And then he said, "And so what made you want to change from hospitality to magic?" And I'm like,
no.
"I've never been involved in hospitality in my life, but I'm a people person, and customer service is hospitality, and performing is the same, in front of people." And then I hear someone walk past, a staff member walks past, and they ask him a question. They go, "Gino, what table is this meant to go to?" And he's like, "Number 12. And the restaurant is called Gino Delicado or whatever. So he's the owner of the restaurant. So only now it's clicking. I think he thinks I'm an ex-employee of his or something.
Oh my
God.
Yeah.
And I'm meant to do an event like in his venue. And I just wanted him to feel proud about an ex-employee. So I'm look, I'm actually performing for a client here. And then I make it about the client. I'm like, blah, blah, blah. And which room are they in? And they're like, oh, you remember. Oh, I'll show you. And he walks me through to the room. And I just end with, "Really good to see you." And he's like, yeah, I'll talk to you later. I'm like, "Great." And I walk in, and it's just the weirdest moment ever.
He's so proud. It's like a hometown boy coming home.
So
back to where you got your start, man.
If I ever get on TV again, like he's going to be like, he used to work for me.
Yeah.
Like, God damn it. So I must.
Hilarious.
I must have a.
That's always a weird moment when you show up to the event because you've spoken to the client. I mean, now we're so used to like hopping on a Zoom call with somebody, but I think pre-pandemic it was all phone calls usually, emails and phone calls. So there's always that moment you get to the gig and you're like, "Does anyone know where Sylvia is?"
Normally you can scout the room and that one person will lock eyes with you that you're like, "Yeah, that's them." Because they look at you and like, and they start to walk over. Yeah. But that is what that guy did. So that's why I assumed it must be the client. So I'm going to act like I know them, and then keep acting, just keep acting.
Oh my gosh. I have a, do you all use like, like here, there's a thing called the Bash now. It used to be Gig Masters.
Is it like a platform where people post?
They're like
a magician.
It's like an online. It's like an agency that's not really an agency. You like pay for a listing, and then like you get reviews and things like that.
That's right. I think you have Gig Salad as well. Is that?
Yeah. It's like that. Yeah. So years ago, I was using one of these platforms, and it was Gig Salad. It was the only ever gig I booked through Gig Salad, and it was so random. But I get a call. And it's this mom, it's for a bar mitzvah, and she gets on the phone with me with her son, and we're talking about what he wants to do, and he's so excited. And they want to do a stage show. And as we're talking about it, I say, it really sounds like a strolling would be better for this, because you're going to have dancing. There's not really a place to perform all of this. And so they're like, "Okay, we'll do strolling." And I say, "Okay." So basically they had booked me for a 45-minute stage show. And I'm like, "You know what? Instead, I'll do an hour strolling. We'll just keep it the same price, but the strolling is going to fit better. No problem."
Nice.
And this part is all through email after we've done the initial phone call. I get there, I do the show. It goes great. I stayed for like an extra 45 minutes because everyone was having fun. I showed the kids and I'm showing the adults. And then it's like, I'm like an hour and 45 minutes into this thing. I'm ready to check out. I go to the client. I talk to the lady. It's been so great being here. And she's like, she looks at her watch. She's like, "Our party goes for 3 more hours." And I was like, I was like, yeah, you booked me for an hour. And then I stayed for an extra 45. And she's like, no, I would have never paid that for an hour. My 13-year-old son filled out all the forms and stuff online and just told me that you had agreed.
That you'd agreed to come to my party.
Yeah.
Oh,
I learned a big lesson that day.
Oh, and so what, did you leave or did you stay for 3 more hours?
I just told, I was like, no, I was like,
Okay,
I've shown magic to everybody here. I think they've all seen what they want to. We'll settle this later, but and it was
isn't that ironic though that she wouldn't pay that amount for strolling unless you're there for the whole time, but for half an hour she would.
Yeah.
I've always found that to be very odd, Like when someone says that's an expensive fee for, roving around, but a stage show, yeah, I'll pay triple the amount or whatever it is.
Right.
For that time. That the perception is interesting.
Yeah. Or they think like, how much, they're you're going to travel, whatever, you're going to get on a plane, you're going to go fly somewhere, do a show. And then they go, well, how much if we only do 15 minutes? And I'm like, you still realize I still have to get on a plane.
Yeah. I'm still away from home for the exact same amount of time.
This is what it costs to have me not be at home with my family and sleep in my own bed.
Yeah.
I'll do as much time as you want.
Exactly. Once I'm there, it's like an appearance fee, right? Like because I did an event just on the weekend. I had to fly away to Gladstone, which is still a local place, but you're still flying there.
Yeah.
But, once I'm there, I'm like there for them. I'm like, I'll do as much as we need to. Like I ended up staying there till like midnight because I'm just genuinely having a fun time and stuff. But you can't go less time and expect a lesser fee. That's crazy. But what about virtual? Like, because people have this perception that, well, now you're not. So, because the reason I want to ask that is, a conference saves so much money by not having to hire out a venue, put on food, catering, that kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
But so then I wonder why they then, a lot of them at least, try to get a lower price for a keynote because it's virtual when really they're already saving so much money. Yeah. So how have you found that navigation? Because you were saying you've done a ton of virtual events in this last year. What's that been like?
Yeah. So luckily, part of it was that I had already had a studio mostly built for some podcasting and video production stuff I was doing. So I was able to jump in pretty quick at a, high quality production, but also I was working with clients who all had planned these major events and were desperately looking for something to do with their people, and you can't get people together. How do you make them feel like they're together? And I think a lot of times as magicians, there were so many friends of mine that were sitting back going like, I'm just going to ride this out. I'm going to wait to do virtual. Like I'm in it. And we're in a business. And if you're in a business, your job is to solve problems, right? People will pay you money to solve their problem. And so we had a lot of problems. And, I think this, but those of us that jumped in and did virtual, like we were able to keep working. I kept my prices the absolute same. I did not discount prices for virtual.
Wow. Well done.
But part of the way,
give you a bit of a well done.
No. Well, let's be real though. That means I said no to a lot of stuff that I may have wanted to do.
Let me rephrase that. Let me rephrase that.
Yeah. I still think it's good though. Here's the reason.
No, it is good, but yes, continue. I think that's where you're going. This is great advice for everyone too.
Even now I see magicians. Someone posted something this week on one of the forums and they were like, this is my rate and it's half price for virtual. And I'm like, first of all, you're still providing this the same service, right? You're still doing the same amount of time. There's maybe no travel involved, but when I do a virtual show, there's expenses involved, there's production involved, there's extra work. Like it literally takes me more time to prep for a virtual show than for me to get on a plane and do my normal act.
True.
You know what I'm saying?
You're putting in so much more work to captivate them through this medium. And also there's the benefit of actually using it to your advantage, right? Because there's things you can do in a virtual you couldn't do on a stage, like especially even stuff that's extra close up you can do because the screen's right in front of them.
Have you noticed because how long have you been doing now? You guys have very little restrictions at the moment, right?
Fortunately, I can do events as normal right now.
Crazy.
It is crazy. Our last lockdown was a few months back now.
Yeah.
But like my buddy Jason, who you would have met had he woken
He's
up.
sleeping in.
he went into lockdown for like 6 months. It was just the most brutalist thing to endure. Meanwhile, I'm over here doing gigs and stuff. So different parts of our country have been fine. Some haven't. It's been kind of mixed. But for the most part, I've been really lucky here in Brisbane. Like I've been mostly able to still do events. So
yeah,
for that reason, I never had the necessity to dive into virtual as strong as maybe I wish I had earlier on, because I was still able to do some events.
Yep.
But I love it even more now, even though it's, maybe not as in demand right now. It's like, this is where now I have all this stuff. So I'm like, let's do some stuff,
Well, and not only the fact that, you're able to do virtual events, but now like client meetings and calls. I mean, I have found the speed at which people are ready to like sign a contract after doing a video call like this, when you're looking at them face to face and you can show them something and they get to experience you, is so much greater than when you're just like talking on the phone.
That's so true.
So I think there's a lot of benefits that came out of all this stuff. And even now in the live show, people want to see, they're used to seeing stuff on camera. So now like I always do a piece that's close up with a camera. And a lot of times people talk about, oh, that was so cool to see that close-up magic thing, on stage. So I think there's a lot of stuff that we learned through the pandemic and going virtual that is still applicable in a lot of the stuff.
Surely Shin Lim is like a billionaire now, because his style was made for virtual.
It's so good.
The close-up.
Right. Yeah.
That's so funny.
You can always tell who's crushing it because it's at the gig when the client, the audience afterward will talk to you about, have you seen this guy? And it used to be Blaine. Everyone used to be, what do you think about this Blaine guy? Then it was Chris Angel. What do you think about Chris Angel? And now it's all, have you seen Shin Lim? I really like Shin Lim.
Is that the main talk of the town over there? Like when that conversation comes up?
I get a lot of Shin Lim. I also get, people love Fool Us.
So many love Fool Us.
I get that question all the time. People talk about that. They're just like, that's always the biggest compliment that you get. People are like, you should go on, America's Got Talent, or you should go on Fool Us.
Yeah. Have you done Fool Us though?
No, I'm like, I think my bio now says like I'm one of 3 magicians to not appear on Fool Us.
So what you're saying is you're exclusive.
I am exclusive.
Right. Well, because over here we have Australia's Got Talent, which I have been on. I was actually on the last season. But people still say, "Oh, you're so good. You should go on Australia's Got Talent." And I go, "I'm so good at magic. I have been on." and you can watch it. But we get Shin Lim, we get Fool Us. We also get I used to get Magic for Humans a lot, like with the sort of the 30-year-olds. I loved it. They loved it. So they would bring that up. Yeah. That's right. It used to be, and now people will try to think back to Dynamo. They'll be like, what was that guy? That's like this English guy. It's like, unless you're on mainstream media like this week, people will move to the next thing. It's so crazy.
That's what's so crazy too with there's so many platforms where there's people who are known just for TikTok, and then there's people who aren't even on TikTok, so it's insane.
It is insane. And TikTok is such a weird place, man. Are you on there, or you're? I
am terrible at TikTok. I post mostly on Instagram.
You have kids, right? Are they old enough for TikTok?
Yeah, I've got a 13-year-old and a 16-year-old.
Oh, my 16-year-old prime ages.
My 16-year-old is a beast. When she was 12, she started a YouTube channel, and by the time she was 14, she had like 50,000 subs, and then decided like, oh, now I'm just gonna do Instagram. And so she's an artist and post up. She's incredible. Like my kids are so much cooler than me.
Sorry to pause this podcast. Is there any chance we can get her on the podcast instead?
I swear to you, we were walking. So we got in the little town we live. Our friends own a store downtown, and they were talking yesterday. We walked in there, and they were like, "Yeah, we got to get some help with our social media." And my daughter literally walked around with her iPhone, and in 3 minutes took like 40 killer photos for them. And she's like, "Here's a month's worth of posts," and like,
damn,
oh my gosh,
what a skill.
Yeah.
So you could just ask them about TikTok, right? Although they might be like, "Ooh, Dad, you can't go on TikTok." But they'd be the ones to ask probably.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't think I'm the guy for TikTok. I've seen what works on TikTok, and I think it's cool. I just don't. I mean, you just got to know your lane and stay in it, I think.
I mean, here's what I envision when I think of Taylor Hughes on TikTok. I think of, because some people will do a reaction video to someone's video, or they'll start with 5 seconds of a video that's viral, and then it will cut to them telling them interesting facts about the video that was shown.
Yeah.
I could imagine you being on like a leather chair, like a big chair with like a fire next to you, with the camera slowly panning in, and you're like telling a story, but like it starts off with something crazy, and you're like,
right.
And then it cuts to you, and you're like, "I remember when I had a dog, and it was back in blah blah blah," and da 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 da. And I could see that happening, like the storytelling aspect of it. But everyone plays their own part in this crazy world of.
That's all we're trying to do, though, right? We're all just going like, "Hey, is this what you want to see me do?
Yeah,
guys, did you like
this? What you like?
No,
yeah.
Look, I'll do it. What do you want?
I'll do whatever you want."
Yeah. We're all just vaudevillians trying to get people into the tent. Come on, guys.
Exactly. Make him stop and make him stay.
That's why I never tried to do AGT, is I was like, 90, I can't do anything in 90 seconds that would feel like me, right? Like,
yeah. And then they want 5 of those. Like, all right, what 5 rounds of 90 seconds do you have?
Right.
Your best stuff.
Yeah, and then TikTok is like, okay, under 60 seconds, and usually under like 15, and I'm like, no, I'm not gonna just sit there and do Tenyo tricks all day long for people. I would die. I just can't do it.
I mean, yeah. Even when I watched your trailer, I really loved it of your special, like your jokes you're writing and stuff. They sound very original. I don't know if I just haven't heard them before, but I'm assuming they're stuff you wrote, and so obviously you could put out like snippets of it, which gets people interested in you and things like that. But true. The other thing. Thank
you all for tuning in to this counseling session. We're going to talk about how I can better manage social media.
That's what mainly this podcast is about. Is we all just complain about things and we find the answers. Hey, by the way, Brennan Dooley said I would actually follow someone rocking Tenyo stuff. So maybe there is a market for that.
Maybe there is.
That don't discount that.
Watch, I'm going to make a Tenyo specific channel, and then Brennan's not going to follow it, and I'm going to be so sad. I'll just be sitting there waiting with a single tear.
He'll follow it.
He didn't like the video.
And you know what? You know what'll suck? Is it'll probably do really well, and then you'll start getting invitations to perform on like AGT and stuff. To be the Tenyo guy.
The Tenyo guy. All right, like, see this pencil in this quarter.
Yeah. We love the plastic toy stuff. We just want to build out a whole character on that, okay? And then you're like,
so good,
God. I'm a keynote speaker, goddammit. All right, I have a question. When you're MCing events, how does that work in the US for MCing? Because I MC events maybe, I would say every 3 months or so. Like, I'm not putting myself out there as an MC. Yeah. But obviously it's within our skill sets, right? As showmen and things like that. Yeah. But it always feels weird to me because I love the show and flow of magic. Whereas this, I'll open with a piece of magic and then it's, orchestrating the event and then mixing in magic throughout it. But it always, it's just like, if only you saw my full show, you'd feel differently about me. I don't know. But obviously it's not about me, but it's weird. What's it like over there for you?
I mean, I think you've nailed it. I mean, in the role of MC, first of all, 2 things with MC for me. One, I've made a big chunk of my income over the last 4 years as an MC. And two, I've said no to all MC work next year. I'm just not doing it.
Oh, okay.
But part of that is for the exact same reason you just said, is to be a great MC, you have to not have people be connected to you. They have to be connected to the experience and to the organization you're working for, right? And the role of the MC is literally going, this person's going to speak about this. Maybe they end with, they're going to show a video that's kind of somber and thoughtful and sad about something that happened. You know, we lost someone in the company. And 2 minutes later, people have to go to lunch and not feel bad. So what are you going to do to honor and recognize this moment, but then quickly transition it, you know? So you kind of got to have a tool bag of stories and jokes and material, you know, magic that is going to kind of capture whatever moment you're in and then get people to the next moment. You know, you walk in and they have a countdown clock on and no one's in their seats. And you go, what am I going to do in 3 minutes that's going to get everyone interacted, quiet, and in their seats so that when I bring up the CEO, he's not getting talked over. So I'm stepping away from doing MC. I've done it for a long time and I love it, but it is not helping build the theater stuff that I want to do. And so I'm actually recording in January, first week of January, I'm recording a course on MC, and I'm just going to put it out and be like, hey, if you want to MC, here's all the stuff I've learned on it. And, you know, it's the hardest job to book. It's the easiest job to rebook, because once people have a good MC, they go, how did we ever do a show without this? So
yeah, that's going to be so vital, man. I can't think of how many times. I mean, I've reached out to people who MC to learn how to MC. Yeah. And I've had a lot of people ask me how to MC as a magician or just even in general. Yeah. I think that's so helpful. And I was going to say, like, since you are, oh, there we go. Brendan Dooley is saying, take my money. That's exactly right. Because he is in that space right now. He's building up his clients of MCing and stuff like that. And
it's a huge market that is not, there's not a lot of people doing it. Well, there's not a lot of people doing it. And there's even fewer doing it really well. You know, it is a niche thing.
What are your, since you're killing this aspect of you're putting it to bed, what are like your top 3 like quick effects you'll have ready on you in case like you need a filler moment?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, a lot of them are stories. A lot of them are like jokes.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So, I mean, quick effects, like for me, MC rule, if you're going to do magic, it's got to be in your pocket. Yeah. You're not bringing any props on stage. You don't have anything set up. So like for me, Half Dyed Silk, even though it's like the most old school thing in the world, is a great MC bit. Because in 3 minutes, I do something visual. I get people laughing. In fact, my opener on the special that's on Amazon right now is a Half Dyed Silk routine. That's literally 3 minutes that, you know, introduces me, establishes who I am, gets people laughing, and does something that ends magical. And there's literally no setup. So one of the big things as an MC is you are not the main part of the show. So you don't want to do anything that's going to slow stuff down, get in the way, have to clear the stage. Everything works out of pockets.
And I imagine it has to be almost like, you know, a 360-degree proof thing that you're doing, because you don't know what they're not going to book the venue based on what the MC wants, I imagine.
Right. Yeah. And a lot of times if you're MCing, that means there's other elements. There might be a band on stage. You know, there might be a keynote that's got a big TV on stage for their presentation. So you got to be able to just walk in and work around it. So sometimes I'll bring a little doctor's bag on and throw it on a bar stool so I can bring it on and carry it back off. But usually it's all out of the pockets. So, I mean, gypsy thread, Half Dyed Silk, a coin routine, if they're like a 3-fly deal, if there's IMAG, but always stuff that works out of the pockets. And then a lot of just like I've built up a pretty good mix of just fun mixers to get people moving around and then get them back in their seats.
Yeah.
So like my favorite opener, you're going to a conference, people are all there, they don't know what to expect. They've introduced you and they say, can you do like a crowd mixer warm up? Have you heard of the birthday paradox?
Birthday paradox.
Yeah.
You find someone with your birthday? No, I don't know. Tell me.
So the birthday paradox is if you have 23 people in a room
Yeah.
23 random strangers in a room. The odds of at least one of them sharing a birthday with someone else in that room are 50%. If you have 75 people in a room, the odds of at least one of them sharing a birthday with someone else in that room is 99%. So if you have, I mean, on average, between 75 and 100 people, I would say 9 out of 10 times there's 8 to 10 birthdays that are shared with just that group of 100 people in a room.
Wow.
And so what's fun is to like share this little fact. It takes 30 seconds to say, hey, I was reading about this and I thought it was so crazy. Let's try it right now. In fact, we're all here. Let's get to know each other. January is on that side of the room. December's on this side of the room. Go to where your month would be and see if there's someone that has your same birthday. And it gets people chatting and talking, and then boom, they're throwing their hands up. And it's a really cool vibe, especially if you're doing like a multi-day event where people are getting to know each other. And then now they've got, 10 of them are like, oh, it's my birthday buddy, Anyway, this is not magic, but it is a very good way to.
That's so cool. I've never heard of that game being played. So I love that. I've heard the game where you pick a partner, you stand opposite each other, and you change one thing about you, and then you turn back and you try and guess what it is that you've taken off or changed or whatever. That's a fun one because it makes them observe the other person. But I love that, the birthday paradox.
Yeah,
featuring in Brendan Dooley's next conference.
Right.
Nice. And I think we have a guest watching, Bella Donna McCarthy. So weird. Dan and I were literally talking about this the other day. There you go.
About the birthday paradox.
People must be talking about it.
That's crazy. A friend of mine, Mark James, a brilliant magician from the UK, which if you want to learn really good magic, just watch all of his Penguin Lives. I mean, it's literally like, just go watch that and you'll have a new act.
Who is that again?
Mark James. He's one of my best buddies.
Okay.
Yeah, he lives in Preston, England. But we talk on the phone literally like every other day. And his stuff is brilliant. So go check out Mark James. Anyway, he was telling me about this paradox thing, this birthday paradox, and I was on my way to a gig. So I literally just tried it that night, and it's become like one of my favorite non-magical ways to get people like mixing at an event where you're MCing.
How long will you spend on that time? Will you give them 5 minutes? Will you give them that longer?
Yeah, that is usually like if I've got 3 to 5 minutes before the event starts. A lot of these corporate events, they got a countdown clock and we're getting started. Yeah. I always start early so that I can have them in their seats and like ready to roll. The worst is when you go to a corporate event, and we see this happen all the time. Someone gets up on the mic, they start talking, everyone's talking. It takes 5 minutes to get everyone quiet, and it just seems unprofessional. So my whole thing is like, if everyone wants to talk, boom, let's give them something to talk about, but let's get them all focused. And then they're going to listen to my instruction of, okay, now we're going to do something else cool. Come have a seat. Yeah. And they're like, great, that thing was cool. It only took 2 minutes. I'm going to pay attention to what this guy says.
Do you give them an incentive? Like if you find your birthday person, you get X or Y?
I've done that. Oh my goodness. Siri said something went wrong.
That's Brendan Dooley. Brendan Dooley has hacked into your
Brendan Dooley
speaking presentation. But he did say he isn't wrong. So he will be there attending your online course, as will I, as will like a lot of us will. So that's cool. But I was saying, do you incentivize them to do that, or people just find it interesting and they just do try to do that?
Like try to bribe them to actually participate?
Like for everyone who finds someone with their birthday gets a champagne bottle or whatever. Or is that not necessary?
That's fun. I've done that before. I have another mixer that I do about like what your favorite coffee is kind of thing. And I do a gag where I pretend like I was gonna, I've got this drink under this glass, is there any way I could have known that you would have taken your coffee with this big long coffee order? And they say no, and then I lift it up and it's like, no, that's right, it's a Sprite. But I'll tell you what, if you get here on time for the next session, I'm going to send someone to Starbucks. We're going to get you your drink. It's going to be sitting here for you. So just doing little things like that. As an MC are huge, because then people don't know what to expect. And they go, every time this person gets on stage, it's fun. And so one of the biggest problems at conferences is people are late getting back to their seats or they're chatting. And if you condition them from the beginning, we're just doing the course right now. If you condition them from the beginning of, expectation that like, man, I want to be in my seat, I want to be listening when this guy talks, then it makes your job so much easier as an MC. And it's funner because you're not constantly trying to like, okay, guys, settle down, but you kind of just gotta start early and establish those things from the beginning. And then it will make the rest of, a lot of these events that I do are 4-day events. And so if I don't capture their attention in that first 5 minutes and establish this is how we play, then the rest of the weekend's off. But if you can capture them in that first session and do something really cool that gets them paying attention, gets them in their seat, now it's like, oh man, now people are like, I can't wait till that magician gets back on stage. Sometimes you're going to do magic. Sometimes you're going to tell a joke. Sometimes you're going to do a game that gets them interacting. Sometimes you're going to give away a prize, but they never know what to expect. That for me is like,
that's the power.
Yeah.
Like they want to get there on time to see what Taylor's going to do this time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And facilitating an event has got to be one of the most enjoyable, but like energy draining exercises compared to what we're used to, like doing a show for 30 minutes, roving for an hour or two.
Well, that's the other
4
thing
days.
Yeah. Well, and I've never done cruises, but my friends who do cruises it's kind of the same feel. Once you do a show on a cruise ship, everyone knows you and now you're living with these people, right?
Now you're on the whole time.
Now you're on. Magician. And so as an MC, that's the same thing too. I mean, as an MC, once you do your first set, they know who you are, and now you're having meals together and you're getting to know them and connect with them. And so it's great and it's wonderful, but it's a totally different energy than you just doing your 60 or 70 minute show on a Thursday night kind of deal.
Yeah. Look, last thing about
MCing the hiccups
is
now. It's the Topo Chico.
Oh, there you go.
Hiccups brought to you by Topo Chico.
Yes. There it is. Nice. So last thing on the MCing part is Dorinda is asking, when is the course and where will it be available?
Yeah, so we're producing the course first week of January. So by the end of January, it'll be out. The best way, because I'm releasing 4 different courses.
Of course you are.
I totally sound like a no, but it's all this stuff that I keep having conversations with friends about, whether it's MCing or, public speaking stuff for people who want to get more into the speaking realm, or, people who have had a book that sat on their computer for 5 years and they go, how do I self-publish my book and have it actually end up in stores? So those are all going to be available at the end of January. The best way is to join my mailing list, and I'll be sending emails about it. So, and you can join my mailing list right now. All you have to do is text Taylor to 44144 and sign up for free.
Text Taylor to 44144.
Yep.
Let me put that in the chat here and put it on the screen so you guys can be involved in that. There we go. 44144. Text Taylor. I don't know how I will text that. I'll find a way.
Or you can just go to my website and there's a place you can click join the mailing list. If you just go to taylorhughes.com. If you're outside of the States, I don't know how that gets funky with texting, but yeah.
That works too. Maybe I'll do that. I'll do that version.
that text thing though is another thing from like Magic Friends. It's been huge in growing your mailing list. Because you can do it on a podcast, or if you're at an event, you just say, hey guys, a lot of people ask me how they can learn some magic. I've got a simple video that teaches you 3 tricks you can do with household items. Just shoot a text to this and I'll send you the video.
Ooh, that's so good.
Yeah.
That's really good. I like it.
Sorry, I geek out. This is my magic geek stuff, is like, how do you do this kind of stuff?
Absolutely, man. Because the amount of times that people will ask at an event, can you teach us something? I reckon at least every second event, can you teach us something? And for that moment to be able to answer it with, you've got something set up to go, that's so good. When I do my keynote, I do have a link set up that teaches them a few basic effects with items that are in like the workplace.
Yep.
But that's only if they've seen the keynote. So like to have something ready to go all the time, amazing. The burning question, after hearing you talk about MCing, the burning question that comes to mind is, how do you say no to these clients that you're ingrained in doing their events so long? How the hell do you do that?
It's hard. I mean, I said no to all MC. There are a couple clients that I am just, especially because I do a lot of stuff in the nonprofit world. There's a organization that I work with called Convoy of Hope here in the States. They just feed people. They're flat out, their whole program is like, people need to eat, and there's a lot of hungry people, and that's the only reason they exist. So I'm doing 2 events for them next year. So yeah, there's always those exceptions, you know, but what happens is, I think in any sort of industry, you start to get good at stuff just by doing it over and over. Right. And if we're not careful, if you don't think about, what do I really want to do? What is my business plan? What types of shows do I want to do? What do I want to be known for? What do I want to create? Then you're just going to end up being a product of whoever calls you on the phone and invites you to work. And so
that's true
for me. Yeah, it's been really hard. It's been hard to say no to certain clients that I love working with. It's also been very hard from a financial standpoint. You see that number of like, well, I did this much last year as an MC, and I'm saying no to that role. But every time I've made decisions based on, you know, what I really am passionate about and want to do, and I put the energy to work at that, it's always paid off. So
yeah, it's like the question of legacy over currency. Like, if you just take the things that are immediately paying the bills, it will pay them, because corporate events don't, they're not that memorable in that, you know, you don't have this body of work to show for it afterwards. People just go home from the event and they're like, yeah, it was a great event. There was a magician, but you know, it's so much more fulfilling. You're right, to do these kinds of projects. And you know,
yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And as magicians, I think magicians have the worst business model. I think no one talks about it either. Like, magicians, well, go ahead.
No, talk about it. Yeah.
I mean, for the most part, magicians don't have a business model. So most businesses are built upon obtaining an audience, a following, right? Coca-Cola doesn't want people that buy Coca-Cola. Apple doesn't want people to buy Apple products. They want fans. They want people who love what they do. And every time they put out an iPhone, those people are going to buy the new iPhone, right? All my friends who are comedians, that's their whole business. Build a fan base, create work, put it out. People will buy it. They'll come see you live, right? Every magician that's ever been like either majorly successful financially or been the people we watch on TV, that's been their model.
Oh my God, that's so true.
Right? Penn and Teller don't do TV because they love doing TV. They do it so people buy tickets to see them live. That's why David Copperfield did specials for 20 years in a row. But magicians, what is our business model mostly? It's, I'm going to wait by the phone. I'll advertise. I'll put stuff online. I'll show videos. And I'm going to wait for somebody with an audience to hire me to perform for their audience. We don't ever do anything to develop our own audience. And I think some of that is because magicians, we get really good at doing the same act, the same 45, the same 60-minute show. When we get something that's better, we'll take something out, but like we don't get rid of the old stuff. And we're so precious with our material. We don't write new jokes, right?
And sometimes we're lazy.
Yeah. But so for me, growing up in LA, I love the Castle, and I've been connected to the Castle since I was a kid. One of the benefits of that is it's easy. I can go up right now. If I wanted to be at the Castle in under an hour, I could.
So jealous.
Which is, I understand what a privilege it is. I've also seen guys that I love, that I loved 20 years ago, doing the same exact act in the parlor at the Castle tonight that they did 20 years ago. And they've never developed an audience, which means they will be 60 years old waiting for someone with an audience to hire them. And so I just think for like young guys out there who are like hustling and working in all this stuff, it's like, man, if you're not trying to connect with people who love what you do and want to see you do it, if you're not building a mailing list, if you're not that kind of stuff, I think is like, that's the stuff that that's the stuff I look back and wish I was doing this 10 years ago, you know?
Yeah. Because comedians will change their act every 1 to 2 years, right? They'll tour
Yeah.
it and then put it out as a way to put it to bed and then work on while they've been working on the next act.
And I know, and it is different. It is different. I mean, we know magic is different than
To be
comedy.
creative in magic to where it's not something that has been done already,
Right.
you know, takes an immense amount of brain power.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going to try and do that every year or every few years, for sure.
But I mean, at the same time, magicians we are an audience to every magic production company, like to the Penguins and to the Vanishing Ink. Like they've
That's
figured
true.
it out.
That's
like
true.
they're going to put out a product and everyone's going to buy it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. They're not pitching the same TT and invisible deck every year. They got new stuff all the time.
Right. Which also means, I mean, comedians don't have that. There's no comedy website where it's like, hey guys, here's the top 10 premises that came out this week. Go take them and develop an act with it. So like magicians, we kind of have a head start.
And Brendan's saying this is totally true. This is why I listen to you, Brendan's saying. So it's so true. I mean, in my own little world, you know, I don't have the biggest audience, but I have enough that, you know, I'm performing all the time and I love it. But I guess my version of that is creating my vlog content where I'm documenting, you know, what I'm doing in my life and putting out these pieces of short form content. I guess in a way, like we're getting better at that in building an audience.
Yeah.
As opposed to just on the road doing corporate gigs and stuff. But
and you're doing a great job. Like if people want to know how to produce content that looks good, that's engaging, that people connect with, because when you watch your videos and your vlogs, you don't leave going like, oh, that was a cool trick. You go like, oh man, I really like this guy. I can't wait to see him do something else. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, thank you so much.
Whereas I think a lot of the times, like people put content out just like, I got to put out something on Instagram. Like, you know, here's I know we've all done it, right? Here's a Sharpie going through a card. Ooh, look, it moves around. Now it comes out. Great. I don't know you. I saw 5 other guys do that on TikTok today. You know what I'm saying? Like the point of gathering an audience needs to be more like, you can't just want an audience to get a lot of likes on Instagram. You have to want to connect with people for a reason. Like,
yeah. And you got to experiment with it too, because people don't know what they want, and you got to do things that you like.
Right.
And
yeah,
see
we don't know what we want as performers.
Exactly. I mean, you know, some of my friends like this new content I'm trying. Some people probably cringe at it, but I've started mixing rapping with doing magic.
Yeah.
And it's just the weirdest thing, but I found it really fun to write material that goes with music and does magic that makes sense to what I'm saying. And cool. You know, I'm just experimenting. I've only done 3 of them, so I might just, you know, move on to something else. But that's the kind of thing. Like you got to be unique to the stuff that is Taylor Hughes, that is Brendan Dooley, you know.
Well, and you're doing it. That's the thing. It's not being. You can't be afraid to put stuff out there. Like I've put out so much stuff that is awful. Like embarrassingly bad, you know.
True.
Especially
where do we find that stuff?
Oh my goodness.
Oh, Pasha, thank you, Pasha. He says rap more. I love it. Thank you, bro.
Yes,
I appreciate it. Thank you. And that's what it's all about. But you know, then you put out these big fancy specials, which is really impressive to see, because I can't imagine not only you're doing a show, but you're orchestrating multiple camera angles and delivering the lines right, so you don't have to reshoot, and the audience reacting, and it all, you know, that's expensive. So, you know, that's wow,
I'm really good at spending money on projects that I don't know if anyone will care about. But I think I think that's you know, everybody in the entertainment business wants a break. They want somebody to like invest in them and believe in them. And I think, you know what? Just decide to invest in yourself, right? Like you could pay $500 a month for that car that you absolutely love, and no one would think anything of it because everyone blows money on whatever, right? Or you could say, I'm going to put away $500 for a year, and then I'm going to do a project with it that like is actually getting my ideas out there. So I just, I'm all about, man, like, don't just sit back and wait to do something or wait for something. Like, no, I wanted to do a special. I'm 40-year-old like dad, right? Like nobody's gonna call up one day and just be like, I think you're the next new face of magic. You know,
but I'm sure a small part of you is like that though. Like, yeah, if Netflix comes to me, I'm,
I do walk around the grocery store just like, guys, I'm here. Did you want to discover me?
Taylor Hughes, you might have heard of me. You might have seen my special. You might have
I heard this was I heard this was the Whole Foods where
you're going there with your sponge bananas, aren't you?
Started.
You're taking your sponge bananas, doing the vanishing, in the bag. Where to go? I don't know. TaylorHughes.com.
Sponge bananas.
Text 41444 or whatever it is, It's all fun. It's all fun.
Funny.
But I think, it's so great that you are sharing the knowledge with the fellow wizards of the world. And I can't imagine how many people are going to find that MCing course so valuable, some of which you've experienced today as a little tester of what's to come, And I love it. I'm trying to think if there's anything I haven't covered. And if anyone has any questions before we wrap up, by all means, please put them in the comments here. Taylor's a busy man. You have a family while doing all these projects. That in itself, time management must be pretty on point for you.
It's always been an adventure. I mean, anyone who does magic shows, like, you're always working when everyone else is having a party, right? Which means family is always like, hey, how come you can't come to our party? Because you're performing at someone else's party,
Yes.
Yes. So I've been very, and I'm not always great at it, but I try to be very intentional with, like, when I'm home. So like, you come home from the road, you're tired, but stuff's got to get done. Kids want to hang out. So yeah, today I was under my house doing a major plumbing project with just YouTube and a saw and like just a ton of stupidity, but it worked out.
That was cool. And it made for a nice piece of content for your fans, It's all the pieces are coming together.
It's all coming together.
Yeah. But the good thing is, for those who are just finding out about Taylor now, you can continue learning about him. You can watch his TV special. All the links you can find below. So you can find his website. That'll kind of take to all the different aspects of what is Taylor, but you can watch his special or you can read his book. There's so much to learn about him and continue from here. And obviously stay on the mailing list to get the courses that are coming out. Me and Brennan will be there. So 2 questions to come in before we leave. So Jason asked, can I say banana again? Yes, I can. Banana. Do you say differently? Is that what this is?
Well, you said banana, but you also said banana.
I don't understand. You just said the same thing.
You said banana, but say banana.
Well, I say banana. Oh, you say banana.
No, I swear when read his question.
Say banana again, Josh.
See, that time you said banana.
Okay.
Say banana.
Banana.
But then when you say it, you say banana. There's a whole song about this. I think tomato.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Look,
nice.
I feel like my voice is just grating, and your voice is like silky smooth butter.
Wow. The way you just said butter then made me melt a little. That was a storytelling voice right there.
I'm butter.
Butter.
Yeah. I'm my audiobook's coming out in a couple days, and I wish I would have had you record it.
Well, that's very kind of you.
We should do a second edition. I would be like, the sophisticated edition where you read it.
I would love to, just for fun. Just for fun. On the Patreon, maybe. And
there you go.
I would love that. Talking about speaking and stuff, like, although my voice and the way I talk isn't still, like, I'm still actively working on it. And, I took a communications workshop a few years back with a keynote speaker mentor of mine. And my voice used to be very different in that I've sort of crafted what it sounds like now, even though it's still only like halfway to where I envision it being, where it's just a bit more crisper and stuff. you know, but thank you for noticing. Yeah. Thank you for noticing.
Well, in that, I mean, that right there, again, we joke about, as magicians, we can be lazy, but dude, think about that. You literally have spent, years working on making sure your voice sounds the way you want it. That's challenging to me.
I mean, low key, that's part of why I like doing the podcast. I get to just practice talking. Banana.
I was
banana.
Do you know who Will Arnett is? The actor. He was like the voice of Lego Batman, and he's been in Arrested Development and a bunch of other stuff. But he's got this voice that's like this, this is his voice. And it didn't used to sound that way. Like if you go back and watch stuff he was in when he first started, he was like, oh, hey, a little bit more like this. And now he's literally just the guy for every voiceover, because he's like, the new 2020 Chrysler, he's like, wow, but he's like trained his voice to sound the way he wants it to be. That's cool, man.
Man, I wish Jason had made it to the podcast, because his voice is one that should be in movie premieres and this summer. Like his voice is really made for that, but you'll never hear it. Okay, Dorinda, last question. What's your top 3 favorite magicians?
Ooh,
because you know so many magicians too. Like,
oh my goodness,
that we would think of. So
it's so hard, because I want to just pick friends. Like, my top 3 favorite magicians. Okay, so I'm gonna go with my top 3 favorite magicians to watch. Okay. I brought up Mark James earlier. I think Mark James is one of the most underrated minds in magic. That guy knows everything. Like literally, I'll be like, hey man, I was thinking about this routine, and he's like, here's 47 different books it appears in, and like he's pretty brilliant. And he's just a great dude. My favorite magicians to watch gotta be Mac King. I absolutely love Mac King. I think Mac King has as much as I talked about like putting out new material and this and that dude has crafted an act that is so bulletproof. It's unbelievable.
And you can rewatch it, and it's a different show,
Yeah.
Like in terms of crowd work and how people are reacting, and it can be watched multiple times.
And I've seen him do that act for 1,500 people, and I've seen him do it for like less than 80 people. And he's just commands the room. That guy's a beast. Wow. Kaylin and Ginger, Mark's become a good friend, but Kaylin and Ginger, I think, again, like when it comes to storytelling, and like most of the time with illusion acts, I struggled to care at all, because it's just put on a piece of music, someone gets in a box, someone disappears. But Kaylin and Ginger like totally redefined the way they perform a few years ago, to where you get to know them and you actually care. So like they do a Selbit sign or a Wakeling sign where you never see anything happen. The whole effect takes place in the mind of the audience, but everybody is like on the edge of their seat because they care about her and their relationship, and they know who they are. So I think their shows are like some of the best shows you'll ever see, as far as like a theatrical, big stage production.
I think they definitely, the first time I saw them do their sawing Ginger in half, was the first time I cared about seeing a woman being sawn in half. Yeah, with the banter of having 2 gentlemen come up, and she's kind of flirting with them, and they're awkward but still trying to help, and like that whole dynamic is so different to any sawing in half I've seen. It's actually a bit, that you watch. It's not like music and done in 60 seconds. Yeah, very true. Yeah, and they're still inventing, like, because the times I've seen them perform live is when they've been touring with the Illusionists. Yeah, and they've been involved in more than one. So I've seen them in Illusionist, the original, and then I've also seen them in the Illusionist 1903, and both times, and I feel like I've seen them another time. Oh, I saw them in were they in 2.0? I've seen them a few times, and each time I've seen them like trying out something new, like Ginger doing the floating ball, or then the last time I saw them, they did this illusion where she appeared out of this box that was just these wooden sheets that were the audience was surrounded at the same time, and it was like, that was crazy. I was like, man, these guys just don't stop,
Yeah. Yeah, and they're both on the creative end of the illusionist stuff. So even in the shows they're not doing, Mark's producing a lot of the stuff, and Ginger is working with a lot of big name acts right now, just like behind the scenes stuff. So they're brilliant.
Damn.
And then my buddy Chipper Lowell. I don't know if you've ever seen Chipper Lowell live, but he is just hilarious. And yeah, he's another one of those guys that can like kill in any room. Like, could be a family audience, could be a comedy club. He will just get out there and murder for whatever time you give him. So yeah, those would probably be my 3 favorite acts to watch.
That's really awesome. One question, Pasha's, and we'll wrap up now because we don't want to keep Taylor all day. But Pasha's asking, is there a non-magician MC that we should know about?
Oh, wow.
It's a great question.
That is a great question.
Do you come across many? Because obviously you're MCing events, so there aren't going to be other MCs there, but...
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple, but it's interesting. Even if I gave you names, they're like so niche, like you can't see them. You can't they don't have stuff out there.
Right. They don't have TikTok.
A great MC is my buddy Jeff Savilico, who's a juggler out of Vegas. He had for 10 years, he was at the Paris Hotel in Las Vegas, had a residency there. And he does some keynote stuff as well, but he's a brilliant MC. He does a lot of MC stuff.
Jeff, what's his name? Jeff
Savilico.
How would I spell that? Just because I know people are going to ask in the comments later.
Oh man. Okay. Civillico, I believe.
Savilico. All right. Let me put that in the chat and I'll pop it on the screen here just so it's documented. Jeff Savilico. Yeah. Bro, thank you so much for coming on the pod. I'm glad we could make it happen. And thank you for having... You're the first guest that has their own studio setup. Like your studio setup, I'm so jealous of.
My gosh.
Just for my knowledge, what lens are you rocking? Is that a 50 mil or is that a 16 millimeter?
Okay, I change them a bit. So let me see what I got on right now. This is...
Sorry, guys. This is just for me because look how good it looks. You have to agree.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. Let me take...
This is the stuff we want to see.
Oh, yeah.
The camera.
No, this is... Okay. Okay, so I told you that we're doing 4 courses. One of the courses is all on this stuff, like virtual studio.
I can see why, yeah.
A lot of the clients I worked with this year, corporate clients, like I haven't done any of this stuff for performers. It's all for like other people. I work with an engineer who is so good at his job. He's the guy they always have do reports and he's terrified by it. And so we worked on like not only the public speaking presentation side, but like setting them up with the lights and everything. Anyway, this is a Sigma art lens. I think it's 18-70 is what I got on there right now.
Oh, you've got one that zooms in, like that you can control.
Yeah. This is this camera is a Sony A7 III.
Yep.
But yeah, man. Yeah. Okay. So we're doing a course on this kind of stuff for like businessy people, just because I'm telling you, like I've noticed with clients when you're booking shows, they're nervous. They're doing a virtual event. They're like, oh, is this internet going to be good? Is he going to come across okay? And you jump on and your footage looks good. They're like, no questions. We're good.
Yeah. And especially if they know you have a course on how to have good production,
right.
Then they're pretty sure you're going to have good production.
Yeah.
Smart. I'm picking up what you're putting down, Taylor. I love it. So my friends, you can find Taylor's work again, links in below, but let's thank him again for coming on the show. We appreciate it. And yeah, time flies, man. But we'd love to have you on any time that you have time.
Man.
Maybe we can
an absolute blast.
Yeah, maybe we can have you on again when you do release the course, like one of the courses, and we can bring people to that. But for now, guys, that's been an episode of The Magic Guys. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Thanks for listening. It's time for us to disappear now. But we'll see you again on the next episode of The Magic Guys.